They told me a cruise would be the perfect escape. Sun, sea, and no responsibilities. Just drifting through turquoise waters with bottomless daiquiris and buffet lines that never closed. I booked it after a rough breakup, needing something, anything, to take my mind off the life I was trying to outrun. I met Sarah the first night aboard. She had this calm, magnetic energy that instantly drew people in. Not loud or flashy, just warm. We sat at the same dinner table, assigned seating. I remember the way she laughed at my stupid jokes, how she leaned in with interest, genuinely listening. She was traveling solo too, said it was a birthday gift to herself. Said she liked the idea of vanishing for a bit. It was the fourth day. We were somewhere between Cozumel and Grand Cayman. That afternoon was postcard perfect. Bright sun, calm waves, steel drums echoing across the deck. I saw her on the upper deck, lounging near the railing with a mojito in hand, legs crossed, sunglasses perched on her nose. We waved at each other. I was heading down to the pool. That was the last time I saw her. By sunset, whispers began floating through the ship. People were asking, "Has anyone seen that girl from 24B? She wasn't in the casino. She wasn't in her room. She wasn't anywhere." The announcement came around 8 p.m. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, calm but tense. "We are currently conducting a full search of the ship. If anyone has information about a guest named Sarah Calloway, please contact the nearest crew member." My stomach dropped. I reported what I knew, gave my statement. They reviewed security footage. Here's the thing. There was footage of her, up on deck 10, sitting there, alone. Then nothing. No footage of her leaving. No footage of her walking away. One frame she's there sipping her drink. The next the camera glitches for a second and she's gone. They searched the waters, sent out drones, life rings, divers, nothing. It was like she'd evaporated. I tried to sleep that night, but sleep didn't come easy. My cabin felt colder than it had any other night, like the air itself had been drained of life. I kept thinking of Sarah's voice, the way she said she wanted to vanish. I kept hearing the word vanish in her voice over and over again. And then, the knocks started. 3 soft knocks on my door. I opened it. No one there. It happened again at 2:17 a.m. 3 knocks. This time, I looked through the peephole first. Nothing. I kept the door open for a while, just staring down the hallway. Empty. Dead silent. Then I noticed it. The faintest trail of wet footprints leading away from my door, fading the farther they went. I followed them all the way to the stairwell, where they just stopped at the top step. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next day, more people started acting strange. A couple claimed to see Sarah sitting in the ship's theater, second row, just before the lights dimmed for a show. When they approached her, she was gone. Another man swore he saw her reflection in a window, smiling at him. But when he turned around, there was no one there. A bartender said he found a wet drink napkin on the bar one morning with the imprint of lipstick. He remembered Sarah's color, bright coral. Said she always ordered mojitos. By day 6, the air on the ship had changed. No music, no laughter, no more poolside games. People stayed in their cabins or clung to each other in hushed fear. The fun was over. We were floating in a haunted tomb. The worst part came on the final night. I was walking back to my room, deck lights dimmed for the night, when I heard it, soft laughter. Familiar, coming from the observation deck. It was her. I don't know what compelled me to go up there. Curiosity? Grief? Some irrational need for closure? She stood near the railing, the exact same place I'd seen her last, backlit by moonlight on black waves. Her hair was matted, soaked. Her clothes clung to her like she'd just climbed out of the ocean, but she was smiling. "I didn't mean to fall," she whispered, her voice carried by the wind. She looked at me, then down at the water. "It's quiet down there, peaceful, but lonely." I couldn't move. My legs felt rooted to the deck. She took a step toward me, one, then another. Her eyes, they were creepy, empty, like something had hollowed her out. "You should come see," she said. Her hand reached out, dripping. That's when I ran. I locked myself in my room and waited for morning. When we docked the next day, I was the first one off that ship. I've never spoken to anyone about it. Until now. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear those 3 knocks again. Faint, patient. And when I look out my apartment window, I swear I see her reflection staring back at me from the darkened glass. Still smiling, still waiting. I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Sure, I watched the documentaries, laughed at the paranormal shows, even did a ghost tour once in New Orleans. But it was all entertainment, cheap thrills, nothing more. So when my girlfriend Anna surprised me with a trip on the Queen Mary, docked in Long Beach, I didn't think twice. It was a romantic anniversary idea, a night on a retired cruise ship turned hotel. Glamorous, vintage, and supposedly haunted. "Cabin 666, she said with a grin. "If we're doing it, we're doing that room." I laughed it off. She loved spooky stuff, and I loved her, easy enough. Cabin 666 was at the far end of a dim corridor, past old wood paneling and flickering sconces that probably hadn't seen proper wiring since the 60s. As soon as we stepped inside, I felt it. A shift, like the air was heavier somehow. The room looked perfectly normal. 2 twin beds pushed together, an old vanity, and a narrow porthole facing the harbor. "Feel that chill?" Anna asked, rubbing her arms. There was a draft, but it felt like more than just cold air, like something unseen had turned its gaze toward us. That night, I woke to the sound of water dripping. I checked the sink. Dry? Bathroom? Nothing. The sound seemed to come from inside the wall itself, steady and rhythmic, like it was counting time. I glanced at Anna. She was out cold, breathing slow and deep. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I had this sense of being watched. I rolled over and stared at the vanity mirror across from the bed. At first, it just reflected the darkened room. But then, it shimmered slightly, like the glass wasn't quite solid, and that's when I saw him, a man, standing behind me, his face pale, sunken eyes, soaked uniform clinging to his frame like it had never dried. A flash of a name tag, Doria. I turned around, heart pounding. Nothing. I flicked on the bedside lamp. Anna stirred. "Anna, what?" she mumbled, half asleep. "Nothing," I whispered. "Just bad dream." But I didn't sleep again. The next morning, I asked a staff member at the front desk if anyone had ever reported strange things in cabin 666. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. "We try not to talk about it too much," he said. "But yeah, people hear noises, feel watched. There was even a paranormal team here last year. Said the mirror in your room was a hotspot." That night, Anna wanted to explore more of the ship. I agreed, reluctantly. We made our way down to the lower levels, past the ballrooms and Art Deco bars, until we found a locked gate labeled Engine Room, authorized personnel only. Of course, the gate wasn't locked. Should we? Anna asked, eyes sparkling. No, I said, but we will anyway, won't we? The metal stairs groaned under our weight as we descended. The engine room was massive, full of silent machines, dark corridors, and rusted catwalks. It smelled of oil and seawater and time. That's the only way I can describe it. Time. Like the place remembered too much. We wandered for a few minutes, flashlights sweeping over old gauges and tangled wires. Then we heard it. Footsteps. Not ours. They were slow, deliberate, heavy boots on metal. Anna turned off her light. I did the same. We stood in the dark, holding our breath. The steps came closer. Then a low whisper, right beside my ear. No one there. Anna screamed. I turned my flashlight back on and caught a glimpse of something vanishing around the far corner. A figure in a sailor's uniform, dragging one leg behind him. Then he was gone. Back in the room, the mirror was fogged, though the air was ice cold. I wiped it with my sleeve, and there, written in the condensation, were the words, "You shouldn't be here." That night, I dreamed I was drowning. Trapped in a corridor, doors sealed shut, water pouring in from every crack. I woke choking, gasping for breath, my hands clawing at invisible waves. Anna held me until I calmed down. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The next morning, we checked out early. The staff didn't question it. I imagine they're used to that kind of thing. It's been 6 months since our night on the Queen Mary. I haven't dreamed of drowning since, until last night. But this time, it wasn't me underwater. It was Anna, banging on the other side of the mirror, mouth open in a silent scream, hands pressed against the glass like she couldn't get out. And now, every mirror I pass shows something just a little off. A flicker of someone behind me, a shadow in the corner, a figure in uniform watching me from just beyond the glass. I don't know what we stirred up on that ship. I don't know what followed us home. But I know one thing for sure. Mirrors don't just reflect us. Sometimes they remember. I've always been drawn to places with a dark history. Abandoned asylums, ghost towns, even haunted hotels. I've visited them all. There's something intoxicating about the tension in the air, the stories trapped in walls. So when I booked a solo cruise on the Elysian Star, I didn't choose my cabin at random. I asked for the haunted one. The reservation agent didn't say much when I requested it. Just a long pause, then a soft, cabin 313. Are you sure? I was sure. The ship had a gleaming exterior, luxury buffed and polished for Instagram. But 313 didn't share that shine. It was tucked away at the far end of the lowest passenger deck. Narrow corridor, flickering overhead light. The kind of place you pass quickly without knowing why. When I entered, I immediately felt thickened air, like walking into a room where someone had just been crying. The decor was identical to every other cabin. A small bed, porthole window, desk, mirror. But the atmosphere was off, heavy, watching. I unpacked, took a few notes for the travel blog I run, then lay back to rest. I must have drifted off. I woke up sometime later, and the room was dim. just that strange gray-blue glow of ocean twilight bleeding through the porthole. That's when I heard it. Whispers, soft like distant voices carried through water. I sat up. My heart started racing, though I couldn't understand why. I told myself it was just the hum of the ship or muffled voices from another cabin. But the room was silent, unnaturally so. I got up and checked the hallway. Empty. No footsteps, no murmurs from nearby rooms. Back inside, the cold hit me, a sudden bone-deep chill, as if I'd stepped into a walk-in freezer. I moved to the window, expecting condensation. That's when I saw the shadow. It was outside the glass. Just for a moment, a fleeting silhouette, like someone standing in the open ocean, staring in. Then it was gone. I barely slept that night. The next day, I spoke to a bartender on board. I asked about cabin 313 casually, as if it were just idle curiosity. He looked uneasy. "You're staying in there?" I nodded. He glanced around, lowered his voice. "That cabin's bad energy, always has been. Years back, a young couple stayed there on their honeymoon. Sweet pair. Quiet. No one knows exactly what happened, but they were found in their bed. Cold. Lifeless. No signs of struggle. No poison. Just gone. Like their souls got up and left." That night, I returned to the room with a knot in my stomach. I tried to rationalize it. Old pipes, creaky walls, suggestive stories passed down by superstitious crew. Still, I slept with the light on. It didn't help. At around 2:30 a.m., I awoke to the feeling of someone sitting on the edge of the bed. I froze. The mattress had shifted. I could feel the weight. I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis? Maybe, but I was wide awake. The whispers began again, closer this time, directly behind me, voices saying, "I miss you, don't go." A tear rolled down my cheek. Not out of fear, but grief. Raw, aching grief, the kind that rips open a wound you didn't know you had. My chest tightened with an emotion that wasn't mine, a sense of unbearable loss, of love torn from this world too soon. And then I heard a soft, rhythmic thud. I turned my head just enough to glimpse the mirror across the room. Two shapes stood behind me, faint, transparent, a man and a woman, holding hands. She was weeping. He stared at me, hollow-eyed, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt what he felt. Hopelessness, desperation, the weight of forever without her. I blinked. They were gone. The next morning, I went to guest services. I couldn't do another night. My voice shook as I asked to switch cabins. "You're not the first," the woman said gently, without judgment. "We keep that one off the roster most of the time. You're one of the few who requested it." As I packed, I noticed something strange on the back of the mirror. A name carved into the wood frame. Thomas and Eliza, forever ours. Looking at it felt intrusive, sacred, like reading a love letter not meant for my eyes. That was my last night in cabin 313, but the feeling never really left me. Even now, months later, I sometimes wake up with that same cold on my skin, that same ache in my chest. I'll hear faint whispers before fully waking. I avoid mirrors in the dark. I don't know if Thomas and Eliza are still there, bound to that room, or just waiting to be remembered. But I know this. Love doesn't always die. Sometimes it lingers, echoing through empty halls and haunted cabins, searching for what was lost. And if you listen closely, if you open yourself up to it, it might just find you. It was supposed to be just another peaceful shift. I worked maintenance aboard the Seabound Horizon, a cruise ship that drifted through the Caribbean like a floating dream. That afternoon, the sea looked like molten glass, still, glittering, perfect. The kind of day where everything feels eternal. I was leaning over the starboard rail, enjoying a rare moment of quiet when I saw it, a glint of green bobbing on the waves. I squinted. A bottle, a classic, cliché bottle. I called over Marco, one of the deckhands, and together we fished it out with a net. Inside was a curled scrap of paper, aged and water-stained. A real message in a bottle. We joked at first, maybe it was an old lover's note or a gag, something kitschy. But the moment I uncorked it and unrolled the paper, the joke stopped. The handwriting was frantic, faded in places but desperate, etched into the paper like claw marks. To whoever finds this, we are not alone. We crashed 2 weeks ago. Island unknown. No help, no signal. 5 of us left. There were 10. We hear it at night, breathing, watching. It took John and Elise, then Will. There was no blood, just silence. We're scared. We don't sleep. It waits. We think it's not human. Please, help us. Crew of the Maribel. Latitude unknown. God help us. I handed it to Marco. He turned pale. Within the hour, the note had made it to the captain. He read it during a closed meeting, but word spread fast. Whispered versions of the note circled through the crew, then to the passengers. People stopped smiling. The pool deck, once full of laughter and music, grew eerily quiet. Families sat close together. Strangers exchanged nervous glances. A storm of questions brewed beneath the surface. Was it real? Where was the Maribel? Why hadn't we heard of a shipwreck? Some said it was a sick joke. Others believed it was a call from beyond, a ghost ship reaching out. I believed it was real, because that night I couldn't sleep, not from fear, but from the sound. It started faint just as I was closing my eyes, a scraping, like nails against steel. Then, soft breathing, heavy, rhythmic, but wrong, too deep, too deliberate. I froze. The vents rattled. I sat up, heart hammering. It sounded like the noise was coming from inside the wall. But when I checked, there was nothing. The next morning, the captain announced we'd veer off course to sweep the nearby waters, just in case. Standard maritime protocol, he said. But it wasn't protocol that put that tremor in his voice. It was fear. That evening, something else happened. A passenger, room 428, vanished. One moment she was on the promenade, according to her husband, leaning against the railing, watching the stars. The next, she was gone. No splash, no scream, no trace. Security scoured the deck. Cameras showed static during the exact minute she disappeared. Just snow on the screen, like something interfered. That's when the whispers started. This wasn't just a message. It was a warning. And we'd brought it aboard. I wanted to believe otherwise. But then, I had the dream. I was walking on an island, not tropical, but barren. Dead trees, black sand, something behind me, breathing, always just out of sight. I saw a man standing near the shore, back turned to me. When I called out, he turned. His eyes were hollow, his mouth was sewn shut. But I heard his voice, clear as a bell, saying, "You brought it with you." I woke drenched in sweat. And then came the second bottle. 2 days later, spotted near the ship's new course. Same kind of glass, same script, but this one was newer, fresher ink. Don't come. It doesn't want to leave. It's already there. It knows your names. We are not the last. You'll hear it breathing too. I wanted to throw it back into the sea, but we kept it. The crew grew tense. Arguments broke out. The captain ordered us to resume course, no longer interested in playing savior. Whatever we had poked, he wanted to put distance between us and it. Fast. But it didn't matter. 3 more passengers vanished. No signs, no explanations, just gone. One crewman swore he saw something slither beneath the surface off the port side, a black shape, long and serpentine, moving just under the water. I was reassigned to lower maintenance soon after. Less contact with guests, less talk of what we'd found. I still dream of the island, of stitched mouths and eyeless faces. The ship docked a week later. We disembarked, but the story never left the sea. The Maribel was never located. The bottle stopped washing up. But I know, something was awakened when we opened that bottle. We became part of its story. Maybe it needs to be told. Maybe it feeds on belief or fear. I still have the note tucked away in a locked box. Some nights, when I hold it, I swear I can hear the waves, and underneath them, breathing. Would you ever pick up a message in a bottle?